Life doesn't ask for permission before it changes. It doesn't send warnings before it shakes your world. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it roars, but it always moves. And if you've ever felt like you're drowning in uncertainty, if your peace gets hijacked by news, by people, by your own mind, then this is why you need to stay until the end of this video, because the calm you're seeking, it's not out there. It's already within you. It just needs to be remembered, strengthened, embodied. In the next few moments, we're going to walk through 10 timeless Buddhist principles, each one designed to keep you grounded, clear, and steady no matter what life throws your way. These teachings aren't abstract ideas, they are lifelines. And if they speak to something inside you, write in the comments, "I choose inner peace." Let that be your commitment, your beginning. The first principle is impermanence. The Buddha taught that all conditioned things are transient, that nothing, no matter how beautiful or painful, lasts forever. This isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to free you. Because when you begin to see life through the lens of impermanence, you stop clinging so tightly. You stop panicking when things change. You stop mistaking the temporary for the eternal. Your bad day won't last. Your anxiety won't last. Even your joy will come and go. But beneath all of it is awareness, the part of you that watches it all. When you remember that nothing is fixed, you stop trying to force everything into place. You let life breathe. You let yourself breathe. The second principle is mindfulness. More than just being aware. Mindfulness is the practice of coming back to this moment, over and over again. It's the discipline of attention. Most suffering is born not from what's happening now, but from what we fear will happen next or regret happened before. But the breath, the body, the present, they're always here, waiting. The mind may want to run, but you can train it to return. As Thich Nhat Hanh said, feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. When the world around you spins, let breath be your anchor. Let presence be your refuge. Even one mindful moment can reset the nervous system and bring clarity where there was chaos. The third principle is non-attachment. And this doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care deeply without clinging. You love without possessing. You act without obsessing over the results. Most of our suffering comes not from love itself, but from the need to control love. Not from ambition, but from the belief that failure defines us. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering. So we practice holding life with open hands, letting people be who they are, letting moments pass through us, letting success and failure come and go without losing ourselves in either. This is not indifference, it is liberation, because you begin to realize your peace is not attached to conditions, it's attached to clarity. The fourth principle is compassion toward others, yes, but especially toward yourself. In difficult moments, the mind often turns cruel. We judge ourselves for struggling, we compare, we attack. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us that suffering is part of the human condition. You are not broken for feeling overwhelmed. You are not weak for being afraid. You are human. And self-compassion is the path back to balance. As Pema Chodron said, compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. When you soften toward your pain, you stop feeding it shame. You begin to heal it with presence. Speak to yourself like you would a dear friend. Offer kindness where judgment once lived. This is the ground of emotional resilience. The fifth principle is right view. It is one of the first steps on the Eightfold Path, and perhaps one of the most misunderstood. Right view doesn't mean being morally correct. It means seeing life as it truly is, not as your fear tells it, not as your ego demands it, but as it actually is, full of change, full of potential, full of unseen causes and effects. When you cultivate right view, you stop reacting and start observing. You realize that pain is part of life, but suffering is often optional. You begin to ask deeper questions, not why is this happening to me, but what is this teaching me? You begin to shift from victimhood to wisdom, from reactivity to reflection. The sixth principle is equanimity. It's not the same as calm, it's deeper. Equanimity is the unshakable quality of mind that holds both joy and sorrow without collapsing. It is the inner posture that says, I am steady even when life is not. I will not be controlled by praise or blame. I will not be thrown by gain or loss. I will not chase pleasure or run from pain. I will stay grounded in the center of the storm. This doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel fully without being swallowed. Equanimity is cultivated through meditation, through reflection, through choosing not to feed every emotion with story. It is the wisdom that allows peace to exist in the presence of chaos. The seventh principle is interbeing, coined by Thich Nhat Hanh. It reminds us that we are not separate from the world around us. You are not an isolated self, fighting life alone. You are deeply connected to every breath, every tree, every person who touches your story. When you remember this, your suffering becomes less personal. Your joy becomes more generous. You start to see that every kind act ripples outward, that every angry word creates a wave, that how you show up matters not just for you, but for the world. When you're hurt, you remember others are hurting too. When you're healing, you become a source of healing for others. Interbeing replaces isolation with belonging. The eighth principle is wise speech. Words matter. The Buddha taught that what we say shapes our karma, our relationships, our inner world. In difficult moments, it's tempting to lash out, to complain, to vent without awareness. But wise speech invites us to pause, to ask, is this true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Sometimes silence is compassion. Other times, truth is compassion. But when you speak from clarity rather than emotion, your words become medicine, not only for others, but for yourself. Wise speech protects your energy. It prevents regret. It builds trust. It plants seeds of peace. The ninth principle is acceptance, not the passive kind, but the kind that sees clearly and stops fighting what already is. Acceptance does not mean you agree with what's happening. It means you recognize it, stop resisting it, and meet it with wisdom. So much suffering comes from mental resistance, thinking life should be different than it is. But when you accept, you align. You gain the energy to respond wisely instead of reacting blindly. As the Zen saying goes, let go or be dragged. Acceptance is the letting go, not of your values, not of your dreams, but of your war with reality. It's the moment you stop arguing with the present and start participating in it. The 10th principle is intention. Your peace depends less on what happens and more on how you meet what happens. When your actions are grounded in conscious intention, when you choose to act from love instead of fear. Presence instead of panic, you begin to shape life from the inside out. Intention is the seed from which every action grows. Set it with care, water it with practice. Return to it when you forget. As the Buddha taught, what we think, we become. What we feel, we attract. What we imagine, we create. Intention is not just an idea, it is the compass of your inner life. And when it points toward clarity, compassion, and wisdom, your outer life begins to reflect that. These 10 principles are not rules. They are invitations. They do not require perfection. They require practice. Life will still throw storms at you. But with these teachings, you become the calm in the center of those storms. You stop trying to control every wave. You learn how to surf them. You learn how to breathe inside them. You learn how to trust your inner ground, even when the ground beneath you is shifting. And when that happens, when your calm no longer depends on circumstances, when your clarity doesn't collapse under pressure, when your heart remains open in uncertainty, you begin to live from a different place, a freer place, a deeper place, a place where peace isn't something you chase, but something you carry. Let me know when you're ready for part 2, where we'll explore how to apply each. Peace is not something you wait for, it's something you train for. And Buddhist practice gives us tools not to avoid the chaos of life, but to enter it with a clear mind and a steady heart. You've now heard the 10 principles, but what does it look like to actually live them when life is anything but peaceful, when you feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, rejected, afraid? That's what this part is about, because the teachings are only alive when they meet your real human moments. Let's begin with impermanence. You wake up feeling anxious. There's a tightness in your chest, a heaviness in your thoughts. Your first instinct might be to fix it, to scroll, to suppress, to avoid. But impermanence reminds you this feeling is not forever. Like clouds in the sky, like waves in the sea, it will pass. And so you breathe. You say gently to yourself, this is how it feels right now, and it will change. That one moment of recognition softens your grip. You no longer fuse your identity with your emotion. You allow space, and peace returns. Then comes mindfulness. You're in traffic. You're late. Your mind is racing. You feel your body tensing, frustration rising. And then you remember this is the moment to come back. You turn your attention to the breath, to the sensation of your hands on the wheel, to the rhythm of air moving through your nose. This doesn't make the traffic disappear, but it makes you disappear from the spiral of reactivity. You reclaim the present moment, and in that reclamation, calm arises. Now imagine facing disappointment. Perhaps someone breaks your trust. You want to hold on, you want to replay every word, you want to control the outcome, but non-attachment steps in. It whispers, let go, not of love, but of the illusion that this moment should be different. You remind yourself that clinging only deepens the wound. And with that reminder, you release. Not because it's easy, but because your peace matters more than your pride. You stumble. You say the wrong thing. You react in a way that surprises even you. Shame creeps in. The old voice begins. You always mess things up. But instead of feeding it, you pause. You remember compassion. You place a hand on your chest. You whisper, I'm learning, I'm human. And you offer yourself the grace you'd give to someone you love. That grace becomes healing. That healing becomes strength. You face uncertainty, a job hangs in the balance, a relationship teeters on the edge. You want to control it, but you can't. This is where right view becomes your compass. You shift from this is bad to this is unfolding. You begin to trust that there is wisdom in what you cannot yet see. You replace panic with perspective. You stop asking, why me? And begin asking, what is this showing me? That one shift unlocks inner freedom. You walk into a difficult conversation and your heart pounds. You fear conflict, you fear rejection, but you remember equanimity, the inner steadiness that is not thrown by approval or disapproval. You root into your breath. You speak your truth with clarity. You listen without defending, and when the conversation ends, whether you are praised or misunderstood, you stay grounded because you are no longer attached to outcome. You are anchored in your own presence. You feel alone, isolated, as if no one sees you. You could spiral into loneliness, or you could remember into being. You step outside. You feel the air on your skin. You look at a tree and remember it breathes out what you breathe in. You are not alone. You are part of this whole. And somewhere, someone else is feeling exactly what you feel now. You light a candle for them. And in that gesture, you reconnect with humanity. You're tempted to speak from anger. The words are hot, ready to erupt, but you stop. You ask, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And in that pause, you find a different tone. You say what needs to be said, but without violence, without blame. Your words become bridges, not weapons. And later, you feel peace, not regret. That is the power of wise speech. You receive difficult news, it wasn't what you wanted, you tense up. The mind begins to resist. This shouldn't be happening, but you breathe, you lean into acceptance, not as defeat, but as alignment. You say, "This is what is, and I will meet it with clarity." The resistance softens, the body loosens. You're no longer fighting life, you're flowing with it. You begin a new project, doubt creeps in. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? But you return to intention. You ask yourself, why am I doing this? And that why, whether it's service, truth, growth, it becomes your anchor. You move forward not because success is guaranteed, but because your heart is in alignment. That's what transforms effort into peace. These are not abstract theories. These are lived experiences. And with practice, they become who you are, not just what you remember, but how you move. Calm is no longer a state you visit. It becomes your home. So what does this look like in daily life? It means pausing before reacting. It means choosing your words with care. It means breathing instead of spiraling. It means trusting the process instead of forcing outcomes. It means knowing that you are not your fear. You are not your past. You are not the chaos around you. You are the awareness behind all of it. You are the calm in the storm. You are the space between stimulus and response. You are the seed of peace waiting to be watered. And each of these 10 principles, they are the water. The more you pour them into your life, the more you realize that life doesn't have to be perfect for you to be at peace. It only has to be met with presence. The Buddha never promised a life without suffering, but he gave us tools to end unnecessary suffering. And calm is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of a wise mind, a trained heart, a soul that chooses to respond with clarity rather than collapse into fear. You don't need to be a monk to practice these teachings. You don't need to live in a temple. You just need to be willing to notice, willing to pause, willing to return again and again to what you already know deep down. That peace is not passive. Calm is not weakness. That clarity is a practice. And that no matter what life throws at you, you have the capacity to meet it with wisdom. You may forget, that's okay. You may fall back into old habits, that's part of the path. But every moment is a new chance. Every breath is a return. Every challenge is a classroom. And with these 10 principles, you're not just surviving life, you're learning how to live it from the inside out. So the next time life tests you, remember this. You can panic or you can pause. You can react or you can reflect. You can grasp or you can let go. You can drown in the noise or you can listen for the stillness beneath it. And in that stillness, in that breath, in that choice, you find your calm. Not borrowed, not dependent, but deeply your own. Rooted in practice, strengthened by wisdom, carried by love. You may not control the waves, but you can learn to surf. And in that movement, moment by moment, you become not just calmer, you become free.